Stephen, I'm on. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you.
All right, good. Thanks.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our press conference. We apologize for the last minute nature of this, but we felt this was important to get some information out to the media and the public. With us tonight, we have Chairwoman of the Coconino County Board of Supervisors and Supervisor for District 1, Patrice Horstman. We also have our Public Works Director, Christopher Tressler, our Emergency Management Director, Wes Deason, and also representing the Coconino County Sheriff's Office, Chief Deputy Brett Axland, and from the County Manager's Office, Deputy County Manager Andy Bertelson. And what we'd like to do is share an update to the status of infrastructure countywide, and also some proactive information to assist our residents with managing the effects of the increased water runoff we're seeing from this recent precipitation in northern Arizona. And at the conclusion of our remarks this evening, we'll be happy to take your questions. If you use the raise hand feature in Zoom, I'll be able to select you and promote you to panelist, and we'll take questions first come, first serve. And with that, I will turn the floor over to Chair of the Board of Supervisors, Patrice Horstman.
Thank you, Stephen. And certainly this has been a winter and now a spring for the record books. My name is Patrice Horstman. I am Chair of the Board of Supervisors and the Supervisor for District 1. And I want to thank you for joining us this evening. Coconino County certainly appreciates the opportunity to share with you and to our public what Coconino County's response to this unprecedented snowmelt that's resulted in ponding and saturated ground. And it certainly has affected some of the roads and travel plans for many of us, and certainly has also affected the property and homes of some of our residents here in Coconino County, especially with regards to sewer systems and wells. And Coconino County has been proactive throughout this winter and now into this spring, trying to communicate with members of our public, and we will continue to do so. Safety is and will remain Coconino County's #1 priority. And as you heard, you are going to hear from a number of people here from Coconino County who are responsible to work together with our community to make sure that we have a safe community and we are able to be there for and on behalf of members here in Coconino County. We also want to be able to discuss with you the unfortunate situation that occurred this morning on a county road, Slayton Ranch Road, involving an FUSD school bus, where thankfully no children were on the bus, and also thankfully there was a veteran bus driver who was able to exit that bus uninjured. And as you heard, after the presentation, there will be an opportunity for any questions that you may have. So thank you for joining us today. You are important partners with us to get and communicate with members of our public. So thanks for being here tonight. And with that, I want to turn this over to our Public Works Director, Christopher Tressler. Christopher. And you are muted.
Thanks, Chair Horstman. So today has been quite a day. We've seen near unprecedented runoff from melting snow and rainfall this spring. Our county crews are working around the clock to maintain roads and monitor drainage infrastructure. We know that early this morning, the Slayton Ranch road crossing was compromised by these high flows, and the road collapsed under the weight of a school bus. Like Supervisor Horstman mentioned, Sheriff Horstman mentioned, luckily there were no children on the bus and the driver was not injured. Our engineering team has already begun working to evaluate the situation and design a new crossing. We expect the Slayton Ranch road crossing at that location to be closed for at least the next 60 to 90 days while we work to remedy that situation. Residents should not be isolated because of this road crossing. Residents can access Townsend, Winona to the west, and they can drive up through Doney Park to the east. So this shouldn't be too much of an inconvenience, though it is definitely going to inconvenience some people, and we're sorry for that. County crews are also monitoring another Rio de Flag road crossing just downstream of Slayton Ranch Road at Hutton Ranch Road, where water threatens to compromise that structure as well. These flood flows are just exceeding the capacity of our infrastructure, and we don't have data yet but it's estimated that we haven't seen flows like this in the last 25 years. Public Works staff will be on site around the clock to monitor the situation at Hutton Ranch Road and other locations. We're working with the Sheriff's Office, with ADOT, with the City of Flagstaff to monitor the flooding situations that are impacting roads, trying to keep people as safe as we can while minimizing the impact to the traveling public. But we will prioritize public safety. So there may be impacts to commutes and to typical routes that people take. We're experiencing flooding in other places in the county as well. We're just seeing the snow melt and the rainfall that we've had is just nearly unprecedented. Some of the other areas of impact that we're monitoring and working to remedy are on Hutton Ranch, I mentioned that, Harold Ranch Road, Spring Valley Road, Garland Prairie Road, some of our other communities such as Mountain Dell, Munns Park, Mountain Air, Kachina Village, and roads on the Navajo Nation as well are severely impacted and causing delays for the traveling public. Some thoughts about how to deal with some of these flooded roads is that we want to request that people do not try to drive or walk through floodwaters. You just don't know what's going to be underneath that water, and we don't know how the roadway may have been compromised. So please don't walk or drive through floodwaters. Shifting gears a little bit and talking about impact to people's homes and potentially impact to people's septic systems and groundwater. I'm going to share my screen here and show a couple of resources that are available. So I have on my screen right now, I'm showing the Coconino County Flood Control District webpage. And you can see, you click on this ponding link over here on the left side, you'll see that we have resources from a recent public meeting that we held for Fort Valley. And right down here under mitigation measures for snow melt ponding is some information that our community development department put together with respect to septic systems and wells. Septic systems and wells can certainly be compromised when floodwaters inundate the area and rise higher than the infrastructure that's protecting them. I won't go through and read this letter, but I wanted to show you where it's available. I would encourage people with septic systems and wells to seek out this information, read through it, and if you have questions, please contact our community development department. David Monahan is an expert in that area and is there to help people and provide as a resource. We also have sandbags staged throughout the county in strategic locations that can help people protect their homes and mitigate their homes from the impacts of flooding. Also on the website is here's the list. It's another document that lists where we have sandbags staged, as well as links to websites that can provide more information. So the current weather impacts on ADOT roads and Coconino County emergency notifications. Like I mentioned before, this is an unprecedented time, and we are seeing more runoff than we've seen in at least 25 years. We're working to calculate, we're getting a lot of questions about what is the reoccurrence interval of these floodwaters that we're experiencing throughout the county. We're not quite there to report out what interval that we're seeing. It's not as typical in a rainfall event where oftentimes rainfall events hit discrete watersheds, some watersheds and not others. I think we've seen that this winter that we've had and the snowfall has been near county-wide. And so as this snow is melting and we're receiving rain on top of the snow, it's water is coming at us from all directions in all areas. But our public works crews, our engineers, our road maintenance people, and our mechanics are all working to ensure we have all the resources available and implemented on the roadways to do the best we can. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Wes Deason I believe, our Emergency Management Director. Wes?
Yeah, good afternoon, Chris. Thank you for the pass, sir. Looks like I might be having a technical issue with my camera, but that's all right. There we go. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wes Steeson. I'm the Emergency Manager for Coconino County. Thank you for being here with us tonight. It has been quite a ride, and I think everybody is, while grateful for the moisture, we're looking at it with different lenses, especially today. I'd like to start real quick with just a little brief conversation about weather. I had 4 or 5 inches of snow at my house this morning, so weather is certainly still unpredictable. The Weather Service is doing a very good job in communicating with my office to let us know what's going on. Long story short, we do have kind of an extended period of unsettled weather moving in through the weekend. Still some rain and light snow showers are possible through Sunday. Into the latter part of next week, there's a potential for another storm. That's still, confidence is pretty low at this point in time for that particular disturbance. But we're not out of the woods yet, I think is where I'm trying to get to. So really talking to everyone, talking to you, talking to your neighbors about, being personally prepared. We're really trying to encourage everyone to develop stay kits. We've had some residences that have had their driveways disrupted to where they can't get out or get in. So having stay kits, make sure you get down to the grocery store, get some stuff on hand, be ready to take care of yourself for a couple of days until, if it's a county issue, we come out and fix the road, or you can get a contractor to fix your driveway, whatever the case may be. Please try to be ready and have some stay kit stuff ready to go. Similarly, we have had some residents that are having difficulty getting into their property. Things like what occurred this morning, although what Christopher said is I don't think we're going to displace anybody out of their house with this morning's events, but have arrangements made. Talk with family, talk with friends, whatever the case may be. Have some arrangements made in line and ready in case you can't get into your house. We do, one of the primary things we do at our office is a lot of partner coordination. We have been on the phone with American Red Cross now more this year probably than any year ever, going back to our fires last summer. They are standing by, as always, ready to support. They have a sub-agreement with United Way to also assist if someone is displaced due to this weather, can't get into your driveway, your house perhaps is damaged, can't get into your property because your driveway's washed out or the road's washed out. Red Cross is standing by to ready. They will work to place you in a hotel or some other arrangement. We currently do not have a shelter open. We just, at this point, don't have the demand or the ask for that. But we do have contingency plans if somebody ends up, you drive up, your driveway's washed out and you can't get in, we can get you accommodations to make sure you're safe and comfortable for the night. We also do have plans in place to accommodate sheltering for animals if necessary, both large and small animals. If that becomes necessary, that's activated through our Public Health Emergency Preparedness Program through HHS here on King Street. If that becomes a need, that's something that my office can action. And if we need to get shelter for animals, we can get that set up as well. We are also maintaining very regular contact with the state. If there's a need of some sort that we can't meet as a county or as a city and county, we need more graders or we need equipment or we need operators, something like that. There's a mechanism for us to reach out to the state to get additional assistance. Public Works crews they're working pretty hard and they're stretched thin and they're doing the best they can. If there's assistance necessary, we have a mechanism to get that in place and get it moving. Chris mentioned that this is definitely some pretty unprecedented stuff. I believe I was checking earlier today, and I think we're at the highest snowfall season on record. We were close a couple weeks ago. I believe we're over that now. And with what still happened last night and some stuff for the next couple of days, we could continue to see some impacts. I have also been in contact with the state about the potential for cost recovery. This is very expensive for the county. It's your tax dollars at work. We want to try to get back all those dollars that we're eligible to get back, if we are eligible. So we're in contact with the state about anything that we may need to take in terms of formal action through the chair up to the governor's office for a declaration and potential reimbursement. It's a slow and long process and painful process, but we want to make sure we're taking the best care we can of county tax dollars. So that is also underway. Getting close to winding up here. One of the last things I want to mention is we've been working very closely with the Coconino County Sheriff's Department, the National Forest Service, the city, fire districts all across the area, all across the entire county, as a matter of fact. And we have identified 131 predetermined, pre-established evacuation zones. This is a little bit of an after action item that came out of last summer and some of those very fast moving fires that we saw in floods. We've identified these zones. We're working to render those to a GIS platform, a map platform, so that we can see and initiate that. Hopefully we don't need it, but we want to be prepared for any type of evacuation. The current maps that we have are all county specific. We're working with the city to see if the city is going to, in fact, they are doing the same effort, and we will join those together at some point in the near future. And it's really, again, an effort to make sure that we have the best pre-made plans that we can to try to make the best of safety for all of our citizens and visitors. We are currently working on a plan in Sedona, for example, a formal evacuation plan in Sedona. It's coming along very nicely. It's in the final stages of being written. And we're pretty excited about how this is going to allow us to move very quickly and very efficiently in times of extreme threat or hazard. Again, I tell you that only because I want you to know that it's occurring. The maps that we are producing now will be public. They'll be widely public. You will see them. You'll be able to have access to them. You'll be able to have them on your phone, printed and put it on your refrigerator or whatever you want to do. You'll have access to them. You'll know exactly where they are. We're still working some polishing items with those, but they are available now. We can use them now. If we receive information from the Sheriff's Department, and I know Chief Oxen's on the call, if we receive information from them about necessary evacuations, we can move very quickly. So to put the period at the end of the sentence, I would encourage, again, everyone on the call, and please encourage your friends, family, relatives, business owners, to register for our emergency notification system. CoconinoCounty.az.gov/ready will get you to our emergency notification system sign-up page. It is free. It is highly confidential. We do not share that information with anybody for any reason. The county actually doesn't even have access to the information. It is held by our contractor, Ray Mobility Systems, and it is completely safe and it is not shared. That is the best way for us to reach out to you to make sure that you have critical life safety information. We will convey evacuation information to you, shelter in place information, whatever the case may be as we move through, continue to move through a very active season and into what could be another very active season coming up with fire season and the monsoon season. So please sign up for emergency notifications, get your neighbors and families to do so as well. And I'll be around for any questions. And with that, I will pass it over to Deputy County Manager Andy Bertelson.
Good afternoon, evening, and thanks everyone for being here. And thank you, Wes. Thank you, Christopher. Normally, if you wait long enough, someone will say what has needed to be said. That said, a few things to share. I see we have some members of the media here with us this evening. Thank you for being here. You are with your community through all the seasons and through all the events that the seasons bring. With that, we've had record-breaking snow this year. We've transitioned from snow to rain. Rain on snow event where we've had melting and then ponding. And now we're faced with the Rio de Flag and other channels throughout our community that are running pretty fiercely, creating river-like conditions, Oak Creek Canyon as well with our Sedona communities. So to Wes's point, we continue to work with our communities and respond as needed and necessary with our media members. And thank you so much for being here. You help the community, get the word out where activities are happening, where things are happening, and this information that we're presenting with you. If you have any further questions, snowmelt ponding at coconino.az.gov. We'll be monitoring that website, and we can track issues. Christopher shared some information related to ponding as it might relate to septic issues in our county community. There's further information on that. We have technical experts on staff that can help prepare. And I think as a message to the community, take the opportunity to know your property, know your utilities, know your infrastructure. Where is your septic system located if you have a septic system? And is it in an area where water may be ponding? And if so, we have the information on our website that can be helpful with that. Stephen, thank you for showing this snowmelt ponding email address that we have. Again, record-breaking year, impacts to the community, and that level of preparedness and how a community can be prepared. So a lot of our discussion today with Wes, with Christopher, has been as we've closed Slayton Ranch Road with the blowout of the road, the culvert, the infrastructure, the Rio de Flag, with those river-like conditions at that location. Everyone has access to either Townsend Winona Road or Neptune in the greater Donny Park area. And we look for those access issues and how we can ensure that people have continued access in the case of an emergency. So with that, thank you for being our partners with this. We had an interview with the Daily Sun this morning, and the question is always asked, anything that we can share with our community. And it's to Wes's point, always be prepared and know that we have had this record-breaking season, both snow, now rain on snow event. And we in Northern Arizona have to prepare ourselves as Mother Nature brings to us everything, the moisture that we need. But with that has come a lot of issues that we continue to manage through and work through as a community. So thank you for your time. And Stephen, I think at this point, we'll probably open it up for questions and comments.
Actually, I believe we need to hear from Chief Deputy Axland in the
Thank
County
you.
Sheriff's Office.
Thank you,
first.
Stephen, and thank you for being here, Chief Deputy Axland. Really appreciate your partnership and your service to community.
Well, thank you, Andy. I think, as you can imagine, the Sheriff's Office has been inundated with calls for emergency response all over the county this winter, beginning with our snow-related rescues and now our water-related ones. Most of these we respond to with our search and rescue division, which includes over 150 volunteers from our community that do this out of the goodness of their hearts, along with our 2 deputies assigned. We've been responding, as you know, all over the county, Oak Creek, Flagstaff, Williams, and Paria Canyon as well up in the northern part of our canyon, where unfortunately we suffered a fatality up there from a visitor. Unfortunately, our snow rescue equipment does not operate in mud, which is a lot of what we're experiencing right now. We have been utilizing, through partnerships with DPS, their rescue helicopter, but unfortunately that has limitations as well, whether it's weather related or if the helicopter is even available in our area. Several times we have experienced simultaneous rescues where we've had multiple different emergency situations in opposite areas of the county. As far as respect to flooding roads, we work those decisions very closely with Christopher Tressler and his crew at Public Works. We definitely need the advice of the experts, those engineers that belong to Public Works, to assist in making those decisions to close roads, because we realize that it is a serious decision that affects a lot of people when they don't have immediate access to their homes. So once again, we do rely on the experts to help make those decisions. We've been working great with Public Works all throughout the winter, whether it's snow closures or now flooding closures. So we really appreciate that partnership with Public Works. If you're stranded, if you need help, please call 911 so that we can come and rescue. Please don't try to self-rescue in a lot of these situations. Driving across roadways that are covered with water, that's where we're seeing folks get themselves into trouble. Just because you've never experienced flood emergencies does not mean you're immune to them. So because of our record-breaking weather that's coming in, water and snow, please realize that everyone is vulnerable to these. And that's all I have. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Chief Axland. And so, Stephen, I think now we'll turn to the Q&A conversation.
Okay, our first question comes from Nicole Grigg at ABC 15. Nicole, I believe I've made you a panelist and you can unmute and ask your question at any time.
Am I off mute now?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I have a couple questions. I don't know if you want me to do one at a time or fire them off and you guys jot down the questions.
How about one at a time?
Okay. When it comes to runoff, you said that the water will come basically from everywhere. So will this impact the burn scars, and any estimate of how high those levels could be is the first one.
Or should I take this one?
Go ahead, Christopher.
All right. You know, they certainly could impact the burn scars. Snow fell on the burn scars. It's advantageous that the type of rain on snow events that we've seen in the snow has not been in such a condition to cause as much of a catastrophic event as that we saw this last monsoon season. And so certainly the vegetation is gone. These watersheds experience a denuded condition after the fires. And so we are potentially seeing a little more runoff due to the fire, though it's hard to quantify because water's coming from many different places. But in some of these neighborhoods that are downstream of the fires, we are seeing ponding, but we're not seeing the catastrophic debris flows and flooding that we saw during the monsoon season.
Thank you. And then you talk about public infrastructure, the wells, the septic tanks. Do you have an idea of how many homes are also at risk of where you guys are keeping an eye on?
Yeah, so we divide, when we think of public infrastructure and private infrastructure, I would list private infrastructure, the homes and the wells. And it just varies in a lot of places in a lot of the neighborhoods. Some people are on shared wells, and usually they're individual septic systems. And so I don't have an estimate of how many wells and septic systems are impacted. With public infrastructure, we're mostly thinking about Coconino County doesn't have utilities with respect to water lines or water companies. They're all private companies for the most part. And so we're thinking about roadways, drainage infrastructure with culverts and bridges. And that's how we lump into public infrastructure that we're monitoring. And there's literally hundreds of culverts and bridges that we're monitoring. And Coconino County maintains over 1,000 miles of roads. A little more than 300 are paved, and a little more than 600 are gravel roads. And so it's a significant infrastructure undertaking for our road maintenance department to monitor and keep up on those things.
Okay, our next question comes to us from Michelle Marisco at KJZZ Radio. I'm going to promote you to panelist, and we'll be happy to hear your question. Take it away.
Great, thank you very much for holding this press conference. I wanted to talk about some of the cost and whether or not you've had an opportunity to ascertain what sort of funding will be needed, and whether you'll be able to use funding from the pipeline fire to mitigate for some of these damages that you're talking about.
So Christopher, I'll take that one. This is Andy Bertelson, Deputy County Manager. We know that the funding that we have had available for sandbags going into this season, we're expending that pretty quickly. But to answer your question on the Schultz pipeline, post-fire burn scars, we're utilizing those funds, those federal funds that we obtained for specific projects for those areas. And it was a conversation we had this morning with Christopher as we're looking at just Slayton Ranch Road, for example. We have a few other areas. And as those projects, we're looking at potential projects for repair of those areas, the costs are going to go up and they're going to escalate. So West Deason has a great relationship with our state, Arizona Department of Emergency Management. And if those costs get to a point where we need to ask the state for assistance, we're going to monitor that and we'll make that ask. We have those relationships. Fortunately, we've formulated those relationships through our emergency conditions, whether it be fire, whether it be flooding. And so we know how those systems work. And if the costs exceed what we're capable of providing at that local level, then we're going to ask for that assistance. I can tell you with this Slayton Ranch Road infrastructure concern that happened today, that's going to be a larger scale project now. And so we're going to be looking at that, what the cost is going to be, and if we need to ask for assistance. So, but from a local government perspective, the costs are definitely increasing as we have these snow melt areas throughout the county and some of the damage to infrastructure that it's capable of causing.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question on this. When you talk about the 131 evacuation zones, can you elaborate what that means? Are these areas that you're planning to put into Ready, Set, Go formation, or what did you mean by zones?
Yeah, I'll take that one. Again, West Deason, the emergency manager for the county. So what we've done, sir, is we've identified really the highly populous areas that have interfaces with forests and other potential areas. This is not specific, and I want to emphasize, this is not a specific fire evacuation plan. We've identified these zones so that it's very easy in some type of a threat, be it a tornado, which we've seen earlier this year, be it flooding, be it fire. It's very easy for the sheriff's department to communicate with my office as to exactly what they want to have evacuated. They just tell us we want zone 13, 14, and 15 on go, and we want 15, 16, and 17 on set. Very clear, very simple. We've preloaded those zones into our emergency notification system. We click 6 buttons and we push it and it's gone, and the information is out there as quickly as we possibly can. So yes, it is designed to work with Ready, Set, Go. We fire any messages out of my office under direction of the sheriff's department or the city police department, if that's the case. And it's not a change to Ready, Set, Go. It is an enhancement to Ready, Set, Go.
Okay, thank you. We have another question now from Dave Zorn at CAF News and Great Circle Media. Dave, I'm promoting you to panelist, and when you click OK, you can unmute and ask away, sir.
All right. Hi guys. How you doing? Thank you
Dave.
for doing all this tonight. We appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
No problem. Hey, I got a couple questions. Andy, since you spoke up, I'd probably be in your direction on this one. Are you guys already kind of looking ahead with this flooding, especially on Slayton Ranch today? I know Hutton's another one. Are you kind of looking ahead and maybe after this kind of settles down and goes away, of maybe looking to replace some of these areas anyway, since I know they've kind of been in there a long time?
Yeah, you want to grit that one, Christopher, or? Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Dave. When we evaluate the projects that we can carry out in any given year, we're prioritizing it based on, for a lot of road infrastructure is based on average daily traffic, number of homes impacted, and things like that. And Coconino County has made a huge effort since I've been at the county. I know for a long time to address and be aggressive at finding dollars to address drainage issues and flooding impacts. We passed Proposition 403 back in 2014, and it's almost now more than doubled the dollars that are available to the Public Works Department to carry out improvement projects to deliver a higher level of service for snow removal. And those dollars are being used. We're leveraging those to pursue government grants and any opportunity we can. And so, yes, we prioritize drainage projects. We're actively carrying out a capital improvement plan. Typically, our road projects include drainage improvements so that things like this don't happen again. Historically, development in the rural areas of counties and rural areas of states have varying degrees of development standards that they were carried out under. And so in events like this, some things pop up that may not have been on the radar. And we realize that there's room for improvement, and we definitely pursue those pretty aggressively.
Hey, Christopher, and if I could elaborate on that, and Dave, I appreciate your question. And then talking to one of the neighbors out there, and I'm sure you talked to him as well, he had said he hadn't seen this much water in 15 years. Yeah. So looking back 2005, what happened in 2005? That rain on snow event where we saw saturation throughout our entire county and in our communities. So that said, that shows us those areas that we need to look at for potential drainage improvements as we look for the future. Dave, as you know, our county, through federal funds, through state funds, everything that we can leverage, flood control district, we've committed to post-fire flood mitigation, right? And now we're seeing with these events, not just post-fire flood mitigation, but these issues throughout the county. And it's really showing us our infrastructure areas and the areas, to Christopher's point, that we need to look at and make the investment. Now, where is that investment going to come from? We need to continue to leverage our funds and look for those funding sources as they're available.
One more point.
Sure.
Where we don't just wait for these events to identify, in a sense, weak areas in our infrastructure. We've taken a pretty proactive approach, doing initial engineering assessments to identify improvements that could be done. And big areas that we've done: Kachina Village, the watershed, Munns Park, leading down into Oak Creek Canyon, out in the Fort Valley area as well. Mountain Dell, we just completed a big infrastructure project there a couple of years ago. And so we take a pretty active approach to modeling these areas and identifying needs and then trying to prioritize those needs.
As far as just to kind of piggyback on all that, is there like funding resources? Is there like maybe more grants available, or even CARES Act? I know you guys have tapped into that already with the fire mitigation, but is there additional things that you can look at to help with this kind of thing that you're dealing with now?
Specifically right now, we're definitely looking at ADOT bridge grant funding that is going to help us with hopefully offset some of the costs for these things. Okay.
And my last one, just thinking this in the back of my head the last couple of days. Obviously, we had some rain down here. Obviously, the Sedona area got hit and, all that stuff. But, snow up on the fire area. Have you guys thought, or maybe started planning, in case we have a rain event up on where all the snowpack is, and here we go, on the fire area, maybe getting some water down? Is there any idea the impacts of that yet? If you look that forward, or where are we on that?
Yeah, when snow melts, it can be typical of a rainfall event, and it's usually attenuated, or it's orders of magnitude less than potentially a rainfall event. But if we do have a rainfall event on one of these burned watersheds, it behaves in a similar manner that it did when in a monsoonal type rainfall event. And so we're looking to use the same protocols. With some of our engineering partners we're already in communication with about modeling some of these things. And we believe that it'll behave in a similar way. And we're going to use the same protocols to try to mitigate that flooding.
And Dave and Christopher, Wes had mentioned the Weather Service, and we're so fortunate we have one of the best Weather Service local offices in the country, if not the best. Brian Klimowski, Tony Merriam. They will send us, if there are concerns about a storm approaching that could produce rain events that cause significant rain on snow events. Yes, we've had snow melt, we've had some rain on snow events. Those events could have been much more catastrophic, and as they impact the burn scars, we're constantly prepared to respond to those as necessary. Now, we've seen some pretty significant impacts down through Oak Creek, Sedona, et cetera, just in those watersheds, and so the burn scars can exacerbate those issues as well, and we're constantly monitoring that.
Awesome. Hey, quickly, I just want to give appreciation to the crews that are out there with the bus situation today. I sat back and watched all that, and the way they conducted everything and got everything as quickly as they could, safely as good to get that bus out was something really cool to watch. So props to all your crews out there today.
Yeah, and Dave, I can't go without mentioning, because Lucinda and Steve may get frustrated if I don't. You know, we were able to get some federal funding, that 90 million for the watershed work for that post-fire flooding. And we're monitoring the weather for a lot of reasons. One, if we need to respond. Two, we're waiting for it to dry out so we can get to work.
Right.
And I know Lucinda's ready to get those shovels in the ground and get those projects in place so we can continue to protect those areas and fortify against those flooding events and our post-fire burn scars.
Cool. Great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, and we will return for a follow-up question to Nicole Grigg with ABC 15.
Is it working now? Okay.
We can hear you.
Yes, thank you. Is there any way, Stephen, to make the speakers bigger and take down just because if we air a soundbite, we can't see the person, all we see is the Coconino County area zone.
I can
maybe
stop
just
sharing the screen and that will fill.
Thank
the
you, that would
camera.
just be great. So-
Nicole, Christopher and I, maybe you've seen enough of us already over the last couple of years.
And I haven't gone away yet. Sorry, guys.
No, it's good. Thank you.
So I'm just trying to clarify like kind of my past question with this question. So are you like should residents be expecting similar flooding to what we see in the monsoon season? Would it be worse? And you talk about septic tanks and private wells, but are homes also at risk?
Yeah, I think the flooding that we're experiencing currently has been more significant in some cases than flows that we'll see during a monsoon season. It depends on the monsoon season with those larger scale events, but with this rain on snow event and the snow melt, it hasn't just impacted the burn areas, but our watersheds like Oak Creek Canyon, the Rio de Flag. Even in our city, our city of Flagstaff community right next to City Hall, the Rio de Flag was running swiftly all the way through the channels, all through our sub drainages, etc. So we have had some significant flows. I don't know the measurement per cubic feet per second, but we've had some, I guess in some cases, river-like conditions.
And is it more than just the septic tanks and the wells?
So the septic tanks often, Nicole, where you have those low-lying areas where the water settles, not so much that swift water dynamic that you'll see like through Oak Creek Canyon, et cetera, but often in those areas where communities have developed in those lower lying areas where our drainages will settle in the rural areas of the county where septic tanks are located. And that's why we really say, know your property, know where your septic tank is located, know where your low areas are. And if they're in those areas, then let's protect against that. In many cases, Nicole, folks that have been here for a while and that have developed in those areas, they know those dynamics, right? They've developed their septic systems. They know how to manage that. But as some of the areas have developed a bit more, we just want people to be aware that it can impact those areas that are low lying and where the water settles in ponds. And so that is a different look, Nicole, than the swift water, what washed out Slayton Ranch Road today. That wasn't a ponding situation. That was a swift water situation with the runoff that created that. We also have in our lower areas where it's ponding. We have an area along I-40, for example, between here in Williams, where you'll see those dry lakes. Arizona is known for its dry lakes. Those dry lakes are filling up. with this snowfall that we've had, the snow melt, and now the rain on the snow that's really saturating our areas. It's great for the aquifers, etc. But we just want people to be aware if they're developed in those lower areas to pay attention to that.
Okay, but is it
Okay.
homes as well at risk? Homes at risk?
But there have been in some communities, there are homes in low-lying areas. There's definitely a handful of homes that have been impacted that I'm aware of right now.
And Nicole, you've been with us through the post-fire flood events and done a really good job with the coverage of that. And just every season is different and every storm is different, as you've gotten to know. And now we're in this season where we've had this unbelievable, I mean, our community when it snowed last night, our community, every flake hits a nerve, right? And people are tired of shoveling snow. And now we see with that snow and then the rain on snow events, how it's impacting our community as well.
Thank you for the questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we have time for some more questions, and we will go now to Lauren Clark with Fox 10 in Phoenix. I will promote you to panelist and you may ask away. Are you still there?
Yes, can you all hear me okay now?
You sure
Excellent.
can.
First of all, thank you all so much for hosting this press conference. A lot of great information here. Thank you so much for taking the time and organizing it. My main question is for Wes. And Wes, I realize that this is going to be difficult. You probably don't have an exact number right now, but you mentioned, this has been very expensive for the county to be dealing with this. Do we have a range of just talking about the expense? Are we talking about thousands, hundreds of thousands, a threshold of, millions of dollars here dealing with all of the flooding and the snow melt and impacts of that for infrastructure?
Yeah, so Lauren, I would say, we're not going to be in thousands, tens of thousands. We're going to be in hundreds of thousands. I think probably, and part of the challenge here is we've got damage probably that we don't even know about yet because we still have some snowpack on the ground. We have water flowing right now. So Christopher Tresser might be able to talk a little bit more specifically about that. But as far as public infrastructure, I feel pretty confident right now that I think we'll be over $1 million in damage. And that's really without any big problems that we may not even know about yet. And I'll toss over to Christopher to finish that out, but it's going to be a significant hit.
Yeah, we just done some back of the envelope calculations, and we believe like the Slayton Ranch crossing will be in the order of $800,000 to $900,000 to get that back into a passable condition. And then other areas within the county. It's a typical thing for us to budget for snow removal through the winter time, and we've exceeded that budget to a spectacular degree. And then for grading the gravel roads, but we're definitely exceeding budgets of that. We're past the typical grading that we would do and the ponding, and so yeah, through the winter time, we've definitely exceeded our budget for those things. And just some of the repairs that we've seen, we're at least around $1 million to $1.5 million.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Lauren.
Okay, now a follow-up question from Michelle Morisco at KJZZ Radio.
Hit that unmute button. Mr. Trusser, said some lower lying ponds were affected. Do you have an estimate of how many? And then can you describe a little bit what sort of damage people are facing?
I didn't quite catch what you wanted us to describe. Could you repeat that?
You said that there were some lower lying homes that some part affected. Do you have an estimate of how many? And then can you talk about what sort of damage have your office has so far seen?
I don't have an exact number of the homes, but most of the damage that we're aware of is water that's just penetrated the base level of some of the homes, with the main level of a home, and caused damage to carpet and sheetrock. I don't have an estimate right now, but I think it's less than 20 homes right now, is what I would estimate.
And what area of the county?
In what area of the county?
Yes, sir.
North of Flagstaff, in the Fort Valley area, in some of the neighborhoods in Kachina Village and Mountain Air, potentially in Munts Park, in Mountain Dale. And yeah, those are the ones that I'm more familiar with right now.
Thank you. I won't keep you guys. Thank you for
Did you call me again? Sorry, it pauses.
Yeah, sorry about that. You're good to go.
So have you guys requested a state of emergency or anything, or have you declared one locally yet? Or do you plan to do so to get more assistance? And then also, I'm sorry, did you just say that those homes were just now impacted, or that you know of?
So I'll take the first part of that question, Nicole. We have not yet made a request to the state, a formal request to the governor. That's discussions that I'm having with the county manager's office and with the board. That is a possibility out there. There are some criteria we look at before we make that request. So we have not made either a local declaration specific to this most recent flooding, nor have we made a request to the governor at this time. And I'll toss it to Chris back on the House question.
We've been made aware of flood damage or ponding damage of water to homes, that it's been happening over the last 3 to 4 days is what we've been seeing.
Thank you. And you don't have a number of how many homes at risk, though?
Not at risk or have been damaged.
Well, you said damage about 20, but I'm curious how many others are at risk?
Yeah, I don't have that number.
Thank you.
I believe that does it for our questions from the media so far. And looks like we may have some closing comments on behalf of Chair of the Board of Supervisors, Patrice Horstman.
Yes, hi, and just to conclude this on a Friday evening, we appreciate everyone here today. The media has been a great partner with Coconino County during our various fires, post-fire flooding, and now, of course, some of our spring runoff. And so we want to thank you all. You get the word out for members of our public. That is so important. And Coconino County will continue to be proactive to make sure that we're working with our community and making sure that we're getting and communicating and getting the word out with them. Obviously, as I said before, safety is our number one concern, and we will continue to do what we can for members of our public. We're here for them. We have a very extensive website, and they know how to contact us. So do you. And we'll get through yet another spring runoff season, and hopefully things will settle down here for our summer. So thank you all for being with us here this evening, and have a great weekend. Be safe.